Yo, what up, guys? It's Flark, and oh, what's that? A video that I promised I would never do and that I'm now directly doing? What are the chances of that? Yes, that's right, and also 4 other videos, probably. Both Shadowlands comps, Shadowlands Frost vs. Unholy predictions, maybe even Covenant tier list. Maybe another surprise at the end of all those. And I do have reasons for that, I promise. First, I get a lot of questions about these things. In every medium, YouTube comments, the DK forums, the DK Discord, DK DMs, my direct DMs, my stream every day. Just a lot of questions. So people care about those things. I can see why. We're getting all bored of Battle for Azeroth by now, and Shadowlands is looking a little bit more fun, so people are thinking about it. And when they think about it, they want to know what's looking good, what's looking bad. I can understand that. Reason number 2 is it actually seems like things have stabled a little bit. Tuning, especially for DK, seems to be calming down. The Legendaries are sitting pretty. Seems like they're very happy with them. In the last, we had a big tuning pass just a second ago. And it looks like DK was completely untouched in that. Some of the other classes seem to get fully defined as well. So it seems like this is about where we're going to be, especially as a Death Knight. Moving on. So that gives me some stability. It's not like I'm going to tell you something that's going to get nerfed and buffed and nerfed and buffed. It seems like we have some stability in the class tuning and the legendary tunings for sure. And third, I'm bored, man. I'm really bored. Repatch sucks, dude. I don't even like it. So there's nothing to do, and I was looking at all the Legion or the BFA mechanics and looking at the Shadowlands legendaries, and I was like, this looks fun. This all the legendaries, they change your rotation, they change your abilities, they change the dynamic of your class instead of just adding gushing wound damage to every button that you press. So no, it's looking really fun, and I got excited. I got excited about some of the mechanics coming back, some of the old tier sets, some of the old Legion legendaries. Legion was fun for me. I really enjoyed it. I never got to use any of those legendaries because they were all disabled in PvP. And maybe a lot of that was why Legion felt pretty clean. But, you know, these looked fun. These looked really fun. And if they're going to have borrowed power systems in PvP, then it should be this instead of gushing wounds. So those are the big 3 reasons. I'm bored as heck of pre-patch, and I figured there's 10,412 people asking me every day about what I think on these things, so at least those 10,412 people will be happy. So you're welcome, you guys. Yeah, hopefully you guys can toss a like on the video. It helps me a lot. But anyway, let's get right into it. So obviously you see I've got this tier list here. These are kind of memey. That's okay, so am I. But actually, I think this will be really helpful for giving you guys my thoughts on this, because the one thing I didn't want to do is be like, this legendary is good and this one's bad. I never do that, especially not when it's this far in advance of getting to experiment with that at all. But this system, I'm going to take something from down here, right? I'm going to take one of these icons, and I'm going to talk a bunch about it because I've got all the details pulled up right over here on Wowhead. Pretty complete information that they got. I'm going to talk about it and talk about like the stipulations or the possibilities that can make it better or worse depending on what comp you play, depending on how the meta shifts and how things play out. So I can actually talk about it and then give it like a categorical ranking. So again, it's a little memey to use tier lists, but that's fine. I mean, I'm just having fun. And it'll actually help me separate out some of these things the way I think that they're going to play out in the first expansion or first season of the expansion and onward. So not a bad system. Thank you, tier lists. Thank you a lot for giving me a medium for that. So let's get right into it. I'm going to be doing Unholy and Frost in the same video. Shouldn't be too long because it's just 8 legendaries I'm going to go over for both. And 4 of them are the same for both, so it actually makes sense to do them in the same video because a lot of the reasons will be the same for both spec. And I'll just put timestamps to differentiate between the Unholy section and the Frost section. Let's start with Unholy. You can see all the icons right here on the bottom. We will start with the AMS legendary right here. This legendary is Death's Embrace, and it is comically overtuned. It's just look at the numbers here with me, guys, for a second. All right, you guys should be able to see this. Death's Embrace increases the duration of anti-magic shell by 140%. And any damage it absorbs heals you, which is just an added bonus onto the fact that it's already disgustingly overpowered, right? What the heck is this thing, man? We're starting off with a bang. Combine this with Spell Eater, the talent that increases AMS duration, and Unholy has a 20-second-ish anti-magic shell. Now, we know how anti-magic shell works. If it can't get popped during that duration, that means you are immune to CC, magical CC, for 20 seconds. So that includes 20 seconds of no poly, no root, no clone, no fear, no imprison, no chains of vice. Oh my god. That is 20 seconds where you are certain to get your burst window off, and you still have Trinket and IBF if you want to finish a kill anytime during that 20-second window. That is a legendary that passively counters 95% of all comps' ability to stop DK from winning the game. Wow. I mean, already Spell Eater feels like really, really oppressive to certain classes if you are able to do it aggressively. Imagine giving that 20 seconds, right? And also making it so you are completely safe from like counter pressure, because if they do try and burst it, not only is it huge from Spell Eater, it also is healing you to full. So you'll just come out of it at full health, and that's not a bad thing. If they pop all their burst into you, so you come out at full health, I don't think that's a problem. So it stops people from wanting to go you during AMS, but forces them to go you during AMS, because if they don't pop it, you're immune to crowd control. You could just not get peeled, and you're going to kill them. It's ridiculous. That's all I had to say about that. All right, I mean, I could keep talking about that for hours on how that seems overtuned, but if I do, then Blizzard's going to come watch the video and nerf it. So listen, if you guys are here, just forget I said to just turn off the video. Forget I said any of that, okay? Just putting that right up there. Yeah, we're good. So just don't look at this, though. Don't look at that, but S tier 100%. That's probably just the best. I started off with the best one right off the bat. So we'll get a worse one then. We'll get a very polarizing, a little bit of a roller coaster between legendary to legendary. We got the right here, right? Grip of the Everlasting. You can see the description. This was a beloved tier set bonus. I played during this period as well. When this was just baked in, you would gear up through PvP. You would eventually get that Conquest 4 set, and it would feel awesome because you would just get this passively. And what would happen is you would grip a mage, and then he would blink. You would grip on his roots, and then your healer would dispel it, and then he would blink, and then you would grip him again. It would feel really good because you were able to shut down mobility and away from them. It was just really good as a passive effect. I think this would have been great as a rank 2 of Death Grip. I think that would be awesome. But as a legendary, nah, it's not impactful enough, man. I mean, that situation is cool, but it's not even that game winning. So let's try another one, right? Here's another situation where it'd be good, all right? Roll. Okay. So you Chains of Ice a monk, and he Tiger's Lust to get out of it and rolls after, and you're trying to peel for whoever he's trying to kill right there. And he rolls, and you grip it, and then he rolls again, and you grip it. That's like the ideal situation, right? So you stopped both of his rolls in his lust. But what if you didn't have that, and he lusted your chains and then rolls, and you grip that roll, and then he rolls again. Now he's just slightly far away from you with Chains of Ice on him that he can't get off of because it's non-dispellable, so he's just sluggishly walking. So you've effectively already peeled the monk, right? And that was a best-case scenario. You kind of already peeled him. Same with DH, right? DH, Vengeful Retreat, Fel Rush, Grip. You could grip the second Fel Rush as well, but you've already got him off your teammate. He's probably going to swap to you at that point when he's just stranded in the middle of the map with chains on him. So even in the best-case situations, and I do like the Blink situation, it is not that impactful when you compare it. It is a legendary, right? So you have to run this instead of this, or this instead of one of these, or one of the Unholy specific ones down below. These are game-altering, comp-defining, win condition-esque legendaries at times. While this is at its best, it's pretty cool. It's pretty neat. And at its every other situation, it's barely usable. You can double, I know there's other effects, you can double grip cast. Remember, I played during this period. You could grip and stop a cast and grip and stop a cast, and then they'll cast. And that's nice pseudo interrupt, but the problem with legendary effects is that this was better on a set bonus that everybody had to get, or as a rank 2. But it is not defining enough to be I'm sorry, guys. I know it's beloved. I'm sorry. I know it's iconic. It's nostalgia. I know. There's no way that's as impactful as the other Legendaries. There's no way. I'm sorry. I know you guys love this. It was from Mop, and Mop were like the good old days for a lot of people. Like a good PvP season. I don't think it's as good. Okay, Pheromones, the pun name. It does do a fear here. A really, really old talent that I didn't even play in that period. But this time I'm not going to shit all over the nostalgia. I think this is awesome. First, I'm gonna drop it right to A tier because I have a lot to say about it. But this is crazy. This could actually enable a setup. This is wild. So the D&D memes have always been memes in the past. Defile, always a meme. Even trying to get D&D AoE burst windows off, always a meme. But when you put enough power into one of these setups, if the reward and the payoff is enough, then eventually it stops becoming a meme. Think Grip, Blind, Sweep, Chill Streak, AoE burst, Blood of the Enemy. Game-winning play from 0 to 3,500 MMR. That is big, right? Because it has so much power. I mean, if you get it off, they all have to trinket because you're just going to kill them all. So when you pump enough power into a setup and the reward is high enough, that makes it not a meme anymore because you're going to play around getting that setup and it's going to have the output that wins you the game. So think of this situation. Grip, Leg Sweep, or Grip Nova, drop D&D down with Infected Claws, the thing that applies a wound from your pet's damage, Sweeping Claws from Dark Transform, maybe like a Bursting Sores, and a Grip of the Dead. So you Grip Sweep, they trinket, they're 90% slowed from Grip of the Dead, that's actually crazy. You have 15% more haste while cleaving everybody with Bursting Sores, Wound Bursting, and Scourge Strike AoE. And as they run out of their 90% slow, which is not easy to get out of, right? Because you did a setup, you Grip Sweep. It's not like you're just putting it down randomly and hoping they stand in it. While they're trying to get out of that, they're getting constantly pseudo-interrupted. Think Blinding Sleet of Frost Decay in their setup. You're getting constantly pseudo-interrupted while you have 15% more haste nuking their entire team. God forbid they don't have a sweep, or a trinket for sweep, and then they get out of the sweep 5 seconds later and they're all just about to die, and right when they're about to get out of the D&D slow, they get pseudo-interrupted at the end of it, and they're stuck because it has to break. It doesn't just immediately break on that frame, right? So you keep bursting them while they're getting pseudo-CC'd. And pseudo-interrupted if they're trying to get something off at the last second. That's enough payoff for this to be good. That's why I have it here. I think that is a very similar to Grip, Blind, AoE, Chill Streak, Blood of the Enemy, Frostworms now, Big Burst, setup with payoff. I think you can play around that. Nova, Sweep, Grip, D&D, Grip of the Dead. 90% slow. 90% is very, very slow. That's like Turbo Fist from Fist of Fury. That's good. Pheromones, right here. That is good. That whole setup is very good. Just look at the screen. That is powerful. All right, we're moving on. Super Strain. This one is also good. I actually think Super Strain is also good. So this is the triple dot legendary. It applies the other 2 dots. This is good for Unholy. So what you get is a little bit of extra sustained damage. Well, maybe even a lot bit of extra sustained damage in the form of rot. But what you really get is the effects of the other 2 dots. So Frost Fever gives you runic power whenever it procs. Not whenever, it has a chance to give it, otherwise that'd be completely insane. But it does generate runic power, and Blood Plague heals you. Does shadow damage, and that's really impactful too. So Super Strain can add rot damage, and give you runic generation, and heal you. That is just a really good sustained pressure legendary, right? So we were talking about how this could be really good with sweeps and novas. Super Strain could be really good with Athlocks and Shadow Priest, right? You're getting to a critical mass point where you have so much difficult to peel damage as Unholy that it's becoming overwhelming, right? So eventually when your damage, your output, and your sources of damage are so hard to peel, so hard to stop, and always coming, especially when you pair it with a Shadow Priest or a Lock, they might have to throw out a cooldown just to heal through that because they're falling behind. And if they throw out a cooldown on just your raw damage, then what happens when you press a win button, like one of your own cooldowns, right? And they fall behind. That's how rot comps have traditionally worked. People are just, they can't get the damage off of them, and you're hitting that critical mass point with these. So you apply it to a healer, and the 2 DPS, and your guy gets VTs or Aflock dots, Agony, Corruption on them, and the healer starts falling behind. And you grip stun him in. You grip stun him in, and all of a sudden you swap to him when he got to like 60% health, and they're in panic mode just from rot, right? So all of those things make this good. It has to be. You get the shadow damage, extra disease that it scales with mastery. It heals you. You get more runic power. Just extra sources of damage. I mean, that is. What was the icon for this? Oh yeah, I had it. That's an A tier. That's an A tier right there. So now, right off the bat, these are the default DK legendaries. They're looking really good for Unholy. We also have the Unholy specific ones. These are very interesting. I think they're going to be better when you can pair them with each other. So, you know how Legion allowed you to wear 2 legendaries at the same time eventually? I bet you that will happen again in Shadowlands. It's not currently happening. So we have to rate them as if you can only wear 1, but I'll make that call as we go. First one, Deadliest Coil, right here. Okay? Let's take a look at that Deadliest Coil. Look. We got reduces the runic power cost and increases the duration of Dark Transform. So in PvE, beloved, right? It smooths out your rotation a lot, people say. Just these changes. And it's really good single target damage in PvE. But there's some issues in PvP. One, you don't really care about that as much. Your rotation changes drastically because of the PvP environment and CC and all those other things that happen as a result of the dynamic play of PvP. So smoothing out your rotation, it won't change quite as much. And 2, you Death Strike a lot. This only affects Death Coil. It does not say reduces the runic power cost of Death Strike, in which case I'd be totally switching my tone. So it has all of those great things for PvE, and one more great thing for PvP. If you extend Dark Transform enough, you might be able to get like more utility out of it. But it's not certain because, again, uptime is important for that. But it also has the negatives that it doesn't do anything for Death Strike, and you have to switch between those based on if you're taking damage or not. And the smoothing out the rotation isn't that important in the PvP situation. So checks and balances, good and bad. I think that's our perfect B tier level legendary, right? That's what that tier would even mean. There's some great things about it that would make it better in PvE. There's some worse things about it in PvP. Stick it right in the middle. I hope that people understand that one. I think that makes sense. Death Certainty is the perfect legendary for when you are pairing it with something else. Can you guys guess what it is? It reduces the remaining cooldown of DND. So it's going to be really good with the pun one, the pheromones, the pheromones. That is a clear synergy there. It's absolutely insane. You would be constantly getting those AoE setups with the pseudo CC. I mean, that might be comical at that point. You might be getting those people complain on the forums like, why am I always feared by, like, what is this thing that DKs are doing? Why do I keep getting feared all the time? I mean, those have clear synergies. And the fact that it happens from both Death Strike and Death Coil is ridiculous, right? Because that means no matter if you're playing defensive or playing offensive, you're still getting that pheromone setup up faster, and you don't have to worry about the fact that, you know, Death Strike is demanded of you sometimes in PvP. So all sorts of great things. The one problem, you can't run 2 legendaries yet, right? So that is speculation for the future, but it's not current now, which means you kind of have to take this out because nobody cares about D&D without that pheromone setup. So you have to take out this second part, which means it just says Death Coil and Death Strike does 35% more damage. That's not important. That's not important by itself, right? That has to go right down here in C tier. That's not important by itself. It's the synergies with the other legendaries that make it so good. But you are not going to be winning any games simply because your Death Coil hit 35% higher. Again, that's going to be great because it synergizes with Harbinger of Doom. When you have big Death Coils doing more pheromone setups, that synergy is clear, but it's not available yet. So we are going to ignore Death Certainty as a good legendary for now, popping that down in C tier. Okay. Frenzied Monstrosity. Great legendary, very boring. Dark Transform, right here, you can see also increases. Let me make sure that's on the screen. That's on the screen, right? Yeah, we should be good. Also increases the attack speed and damage of you and your pet by 12%. I mean, it's incredibly easy to use, right? It doesn't even matter. It sims very well in PvE, and generally that's a problem because sims don't matter. But this time it does matter because you just press Dark Transform and do more damage. That is a That is not something that's going to be very difficult to get off. You're just going to be using the ability and getting more damage as a result. This is not, I mean, it's just boring. I mean, there's nothing really I can say about it. It's fantastic. It's A tier, but it's boring. Makes you do more damage during your windows. I'm not knocking it. I'm not saying it's stupid. I'm just saying, like, there's no, like, I shouldn't even have to talk. I'm beating it to death already, and I've barely said anything, right? It just makes you do more damage. Thumbs up. Shambler. Last one. Pretty bad. This thing it actually sucks. It's terrible. I should put it in D tier, but I'm not going to, because there's some window. Like, okay, let's say you grip sweep, and then it procs, and then right at the end of the sweep, it blows up on him and does a ton of extra AoE damage, and you finish a kill like that. That's good, right? But that doesn't have to happen. It's a proc, and it's only 1.5 procs per minute, so... And it's slow. It's a shambler. It just walks at them. And the wound doesn't matter. It's just like, most of those wounds you won't even use. I mean, on the off targets, unless you're doing a D&D window, which you probably won't do, because you're running shambler instead. So it is a chance to be like, oh, crazy, it just walked at them and blew them up. But most of the time it is random damage that's not nearly as impactful as all the other ones that do tons of extra pressure, right? So, I don't know. I guess I put it on C because, you know, there is a chance where it could execute somebody. 150% isn't terrible, and it scales with your mastery and necrotic aura. Maybe I'm too down on this boy. Maybe it'll be actually nuts when we have a ton of secondary stats and it hits really hard because of all your mastery. I'm not buying it. I think it's bad. The PvEers think it's worse than the other AoE stuff too, so it can't be that impactful, right? Because, yeah. That's what I got. Okay, that's Unholy, guys. So, that's interesting, right? We got a lot of the general legendaries actually near the top. I think it's because the Unholy DK specific legendaries are really good when you pair them with each other, or really good in like PvE specifically, especially this one, which is sitting at B tier, even though you might have not expected that. But that is not a problem, because the setups or the interesting legendaries are all right here. I mean, this is crazy for rock comps. This is the AoE, this is the multiple dot one, crazy for rock comps. Pheromones is crazy for grips sweep or grip nova setups. AMS 1 is just destructively overpowered. So I'm not knocking Unholy at all. I mean, these things are awesome. You have crazy setup legendaries. You have just your do more damage legendary. You have very synergistic legendaries that will end up probably being absurd when you can wear two of them. And then you have your just over-the-top, completely overtuned, hysterical, wow, I cannot believe this is in the game legendary. So you got a ton of choices. I think it's just, unfortunately, two of these Unholy specific ones. One of them needs the synergy, and one of them is seeming not very impactful. But a lot of great stuff here for Unholy. Tons, don't worry, I'm not knocking it. Very, very good stuff. And now we got Frost. So, clear it up, go again. I'll put his timestamp right here for all the people who care about Frost or don't care about Frost, but here we go. We can speed through this one a little quicker because we just talked about all four of those general use legendaries. So we know what they do, and we know what I'm going to say about them. Let's talk Death's Embrace. Why is it here instead of S tier? You don't have Spell Eater. It's still ridiculous because Frost wants to have CC immunity so it can do its crazy Chill Streak Goes or its setups, and it's just so impactful for you to be able to use a defensive that well and play it aggressively without being really punished for it. So obviously still very, very good, but Spell Eater is what drives it over the top. Spell Eater is what makes it so they can't pop it as easy, for it to last even longer with the combining effect of that and the duration increase from this. It's still great. It's just Unholy gets that little bonus from having a talent that buffs it. Hey, I wish we had that talent too, but you know that talent row, we do not have Spell Eater anywhere on it, so won't talk your ear off anymore about that Death's Embrace. We've already said all we need to say. A tier for Frost. Grip of the Everlasting, still D. I was looking for a reason that this could be better in Frost because you have those grip sweep setups. But I don't know, if they blink out of it and then you grip them back, the Chill Streak might have fizzled out anyway. That's generally what happens. It could be pretty valuable for those grip sweeps. Maybe move it to see, dude. Because you can grip people back in to your AoE go and that Remorseless Winter one more extra time, but it's also... I don't think so. I don't think so. It's not impactful enough. When you're about to see how good Frost Legendaries are, this has to stay at D. I think I'll be able to explain why in about 10 minutes. So we're going to keep this here, and then you're about to see what I mean. I promise. Okay. But first I have to go on a spiel about pheromones. All right. So I'm going to put this right here, first off, and you're going to be very confused because D&D is not even an impactful ability for Frost. So you're like, what on earth is that idiot talking about? But hear me out. I know everybody's very involved with Necrolord as the PvP covenant. Let me draw you up a situation real quick. Let me take you on a little story, right? Take you down my thought process. I'm just going to tell you like a novel here. A little chapter of a book. Grip. Leg Sweep. Chill Streak. Frostworm's Fury. D&D down with Pillar out. AoE obliteration with the Covenant that gives you that in D&D. They get out of the sweep into an 80%, maybe 70% slow from two sources, completely unavoidable, and have a chance while getting AoE bursted, while you have 15% more haste doing AoE obliterates and bouncing chill streaks, to also get pseudo interrupted and have to have another one of those big knock bursts break that over and over on all three players. It sounds good to me, man. It doesn't sound like a gimmick. I mean, we just spent an entire expansion. Grip, line, sweep, chill streak. Hey, they're dead. We win. We're awesome. What happens if you add 15% haste and an AoE frost damage obliterate with Might of the Frozen Wastes, Armor Pen, Frost Mastery, and Necrotic Aura, and Razor Ice, all to that? You're going to be AoE chunking people with Obliterate while your one-shot chill streak is bouncing, and your partner is doing damage, and they're getting slowed and pseudo-interrupted by Death and Decay, while you have 15% more haste to make sure you get it all off. It sounds like a win condition to me, man. I mean, how much more power can you pump into a window? So let's say, okay, well, they trinket. Well, now they're getting pseudo-interrupted by the fear, and they're 70% to 90% slowed. If they insta-trinket, that's even better. So this is even better if they insta-trinket, right? Because now they're at the 90% grip of the dead slow instead of like the 70%. So now it is an answer to like, okay, so they trinket and run out. No, they trinket and they're 90% slowed. That's like a Turbo Fist, dude. With Chaos Nova, this also works exactly as well. And they don't have a good 90% slow like Turbo Fist, so it's even better for the DK setup. It's insane. It is an answer for if they trinket. It's an answer for if they don't trinket. The 15% is extremely good. It is a win condition. I was just talking earlier about how if you pump enough reward into a setup, it doesn't become a meme anymore. It becomes how you win the game, right? Chill Streak, Grip Blind, AoE, Stun, Blood of the Enemy, Chill Streak is not a meme. It's literally a 3,500 MMR win condition, right? So this is good. It's good. It's good. It's good. I'm going to talk no more about that. Just rewatch that part of the video. Kind of fantasize, daydream about that situation going right in your head. And realize that that's what we did. Those types of setups are what we did all the way. All the Frost DKs, Mez, you saw them do it, right? That's what they did to win games against the highest rated teams, right? And then start feeling pretty good about that possibility. I know it requires a covenant, but just think about it. Think about it. There'll be more videos on that, more Shadowlands predictions, but just think about that. Okay, Super Strain. Poop deck. This thing's terrible. For Unholy, right? You play with Shadow Priest, you play with Avlock, it has all that potential, and you're getting Frost Fever instead of Virulent Plague. Frost Fever is the one that gives you runic power. But Frost already has Frost Fever, doesn't have the mastery with Blood Plague, and Virulent Plague sucks because its secondary effect happens when the infected target dies, it erupts and does full damage. But if somebody dies in an arena, then you've probably won. I don't think you want to build your win condition over whether or not somebody dies. Obviously, it's just very unimpactful for Frost that relies more on those AoE setups rather than rotting healers down across the map and swapping to that guy and Grip Asphyxiate, swap with all the rot damage. it's just not good for Frost. Great for Unholy, not good for Frost. We'll put that right at C. I guess it's not unusable. You still get... It's just not that good. And now let's talk Frost DK Legendaries, the last thing on our agenda. Holy cow. These things are really good. Like, wow. Like, disturbingly good, dude. I'm going to start with that Frostworms one at the top, and I'm just going to... Boo! There at the top, dude. This thing is ridiculous. Let me tell you about Absolute Zero. Let me tell you a little bit about this, boys. 50% reduced cooldown on an instant free AoE burst that now AoE stuns on a 1.5 minute cooldown. Certain comps are enabled by the fact that they have an AoE stun. Chillstreak and Heartstop Aura and Remorseless Winter and all the cleave and disruption that Frost DK has. All it requires is one AoE stun setup and you can win the game based on the fact that you are allowed to get one. So this is actually a comp enabling legendary. Think of TSG, right? TSG, it's going to have good sustain, it's going to have Sharpened Blade, Mortal Strike, just crazy output. And now in Heartstop Aura, so they're falling behind and they're running out of cooldowns because their cooldowns are longer. And it has more on-demand damage from Obliterate doing more damage, and Obliteration being better, and Two-Handed Frost giving you more single-target upfront damage. Oh, and now you also have an AoE stun setup back into TSG. Something that was missing through all of BFA, right? Now you have that. So your chill streaks will also be reliable. So you get reliable chill streaks while having AoE stun goes for his Blade Storm, his Sharpen, his Sweeping Strikes. It is a comp enabler. It is ridiculous, and it provides instant damage on a shorter cooldown. Because Frostworms, sure, it's nerfed in PvP, but when it's free and does an AoE damage in a huge line that slows them and stuns them, then you're not really worried about it if it does less damage than it does in PvE. It is free and wild. So that changes everything, right? This is a comp enabler. Think Frost DK Destro used to have Remorseless Winter, stun. That wasn't the trash one that it is now, where it like lowers your damage by a ton to have to use it, and it has to take a PvP talent as well. So you would Frost DK Destro and Legion. You would grip people in and double Infernal stun them, then double AoE stun them with Remorseless Winter, and then they would be getting cleaved to death by Channel Demon Fire and Your Cleave and Immolation Aura from the Infernal, and people are just getting crushed. But when you don't have an on-demand AoE stun, that's very difficult. This is an on-demand AoE stun with instant damage on a short cooldown. You can even do this in the AoE stun comps, okay? Picture this. Grip, Leg Sweep, Chill Streak. They're getting nuked. They have to trinket. You have an immediate answer to the trinket. A 1.5 second DR stunned instantly. So they trinket and they still have a chance to lose. What happens if they don't trinket? Then you sweep them into a half Frostworms Fury out, and they have to sit there for 6.5 seconds of Chill Streak go. I mean, this thing is... I cannot talk anymore about the... You guys are going to hate me for how much I've literally talked about this one legendary. Actually, I've done that a couple times, but... S tier. Comp defining legendary. Literally class spec defining legendary. I know that, dude. If I'm wrong, you guys are gonna laugh at me, but dude, that's so good. You have to agree. It literally sets up different comps. That's a good legendary. Alright, Biting Cold. I'll put that right up here, right at the top too, dude. This thing is nuts as well. Biting Cold is just Frozen Tempest, but you also have like Covenants that increase Remorseless Winter damage as well. So not only do you get Remorseless Winter, Frozen Tempest, which was just fantastic, right? Gives you a Rhyme proc, adds free AoE damage to every go. It's consistent. It's easy to get off. It doesn't require any additional setup. It adds damage to every single go. It also has the potential of synergizing with Covenants to make it scale out of control, because then you're going to have Remorseless Winter damage increased by 30%. Right? Then you're going to have Gathering Storm increasing its damage, and the Covenant increasing its damage. You know what happens with triple multiplicative effect damage modifiers, right? It does a lot of damage. That is burst windows. I mean, you can just start gripping people in on cooldown, off setups, get your Rhyme proc, and start nuking people with your big slows and your AoE damage. I mean, it's just, again, that seems to work right into TSG. Windwalker DK. DH DK. It is actually nuts. to have that much sustained cleave and have it to be so easy to access. Plus, Rhyme procs, very, very good with Avalanche, which actually seems to be pumping right now. So just even more chip AoE damage on top of every go. I mean, again, it's all the reasons. Either these are like AoE setup comp defining legendaries. They add so much pressure to these windows that people are just not able to deal with it. That on top of Obliterate, with Obliteration doing actual damage. I mean, Frost is going to be pretty good. Those are my 2 S tier legendaries. So Cold Tiras, this might somehow be controversial, even though I'm still putting it extremely high, because I think everybody was certain that it would be the best legendary in the game. Maybe it is. Maybe I'm wrong. This is a speculation video. I think it's going to be A tier, and I'm going to tell you why. So it does some really good stuff. Obliterate deals 10% increased damage, gives you rune generation. So just bakes that into your entire class. You have more rune generation now, you do more damage. But compared to the 2 win condition defining, I don't think it quite does that. It's another modifier on top of all your Obliterate things. That's great. It's only 10% though, so it's not... It could execute somebody if you do slightly more damage and finish the game, but it's not giving you a setup that ends the game. It's just making sure you do more damage. And the rune generation is great, and that's good for survivability. So it's like a perfect fit for A tier, I think. It's like an overall good, very good legendary. Not class defining, not spec defining, but just very good, right? That seems like the perfect spot for Cold Tiras. I mean, it's just good. It's very good. So, yeah. I don't have anything more to say about it. It's very basic. It just passively does things. So, all right, finally, we made it through all of them. This is Rage of the Frozen Champion. Pretty much the same type of thing, right? So, Obliterate generates runes, and this time has a chance to increase damage by Rhyme instead of just doing more damage, right? So it has a do more damage component and a rune generation component. This one I think is just slightly worse than Cold Tira's Favor, doing the same thing, both in rune generation and in the damage that it adds, because instead of it being on demand and just all the time, it just has a chance to proc Rhyme. Again, that's really good with Avalanche, so I could probably put this A tier too. I think it's average enough. It's got enough good and enough bad to be our one lone Frost DK B tier legendary. I think that it's just like, it's rune generation, which is fine, and it's a chance of doing slightly more AoE damage, which is fine. So yeah, that's gonna do it. So Frost has some very, I think, comp defining legendaries at the top here with the Frost Worms and the Remorseless. It has the AMS, which is still good, just not as good as Unholy. It has the crazy pheromone setup, which I still think is less of a meme, but maybe these are just too good to ever try it out. It has Cold Tiras, which everybody knows is good. And we've got some crap down here, but not that much crap. For Unholy, still, like I said, very good as well. Has some very synergistic legendaries that we'll need to have 2 for. Just AMS, just so over the top with Spell Eater. And then some crazy pheromone setups and some really, so like I said, you have a rock comp legendary and a setup comp legendary. It's like all of these playstyles and dynamics are all being built off of these legendaries instead of just adding Gushing Wound to your damage output. It's fantastic. I mean, if there are 5, maybe I underestimate this one or something, or these then become synergistic because you can wear 2. If there are 5 or 6 legendaries that are all playstyle and setup defining in the game, how much fun will that be to customize your own specific playstyle through all of these different mediums for both? Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, possibly 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the synergy could possibly make it 6. And that's assuming I'm right about any of this. That looks like a good design for an expansion. If they're gonna have borrowed power systems, they should at least be fun like that instead of crap like Corruption, right? I'm proud of them. I think this is cool. So obviously it's a speculation video, so I'm not certain about the things that I'm saying here like I'm used to, and that scares me a little bit. I'm getting all frightened. So I'm gonna do something I haven't done, and I probably should start doing. Please comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. I never do that, and I should probably start. I don't know. I haven't played Shadowlands yet. These are my best thoughts that I could possibly give you guys. This is the best work I could possibly do. But if you guys have like something that you've seen that creates some unexpected synergy that I didn't even anticipate, or something that makes something worse or better and should be moved around here, tell me in the comments. I think that would be cool if we actually discuss, like, oh, holy crap, like, I didn't even expect that. And then we could all have discussions about it somewhere. I mean, now that I have this video out, it's a perfect time to kind of talk about all the questions that we've all been asking. So please, in the comments below, toss your insight down there. Tell me what's going on. I don't know if I'm certain about this stuff yet, but I put a lot of work and a lot of hours into seeing if I could give at least a really good idea and some thoughts that maybe you guys hadn't thought about yet for what's going to be happening with these insane and really exciting Shadowlands Legendaries. So there you go. Mission accomplished. We did it. I hope this helps, or is at least interesting, kind of fun, gets you thinking about DK. It looks really fun, so at least we can agree on that. There's some really cool stuff that we're going to be theory crafting very soon. So a little bit of speculation here. Hope you enjoyed it. Peace.